leader is someone who wants to know your name, not name and surnames. A leader is someone who wants to know who are you? Who are you? Tell me.
Yeah.
So I don't have a definition for leader, and I'm not interested neither in finding like the big quote to define a leader. But I do know that I can recognize a leader in front of me when I'm with someone that really wants to know who is the person in front of them.
I'm Brandon Vaidyanathan, and this is Beauty at Work, a podcast about how beauty shapes our world and the work that we do. In this season, we're looking at beauty in science. This episode is sponsored by Templeton Religion Trust and the Institute for Advanced Catholic Studies at the University of Southern California. More about them later in the show.
Hello and welcome, everybody. I'm so thrilled to welcome my guest today, Esther Blázquez Blanco. Esther works with leaders, teams, and organizations crafting businesses that speak human by revealing human connection and emotional intimacy. As a company culture and leadership consultant, speaker, executive coach, and systemic facilitator, she assists companies in uncovering the truth behind the role and developing the relationship between the person and the company. Her vision is simple and direct, focusing on the importance of interpersonal connectedness in companies and driving their growth through life-centered strategies. With a background in journalism, innovation, and fast-growing startups, Esther also dedicates her time to studying and teaching meditation, performance, and personal development. She also engages audiences through talks and workshops, developing leadership programs tailored to both companies and individuals. Esther, such a delight to have you on the podcast. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Brandon.
Great. So I want to get started by asking you about your childhood growing up and particularly your journey into journalism, which I'm very curious about. Could you tell me where you grew up, what your childhood was like, and what drew you to this path?
I'm not sure why I did. Well, I know, of course, but I'm not sure if at that moment I had this clarity of mind to choose that career. That's what I mean. But from all the options that I had at that moment, I really knew by that time, that I loved writing and I loved people, meeting people. And at some point, I pictured myself traveling around the world. I was 17 or 18 years old. I don't know. So I was picturing myself traveling around the world and meeting all kind of people and telling their stories. I was very interested in sharing other people's stories. And during certain time, I did that. I was into the documentary, more backstage work. So I was, helping with production for, from advertising, which I didn't like, to documentaries, which I loved. I never jumped into the, kind of correspondent work or writing for a newspaper. I don't know what, but I didn't have this call for becoming an expert on finance, and, like writing news about finance or about politics or about, was very interested in culture, very interested in art, philosophy in general. So I think that those ingredients made me, and I actually, I remember another reason. I wanted to interview people. I wanted to have the chance to interview people and to know, I think that subconsciously I was looking for really connecting with human beings. And that's the reason why I decided to study journalism.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious to know whether there were any factors in your childhood that led you to this desire to connect and to foster connection, to foster intimacy. Does that does that come from your family environment, or does that come from something you experienced that you wanted to share that you didn't see in the world around you, or does it come conversely from something that you experienced a lack of and you wanted to make happen, or
Yeah.
how did that come about?
Yeah, my brother, like he was
Okay.
he was the angular stone for many, many key events in my life, because he was born with like a mental damage, a brain damage. So during all his life, uh, until his final departure, he was always between 3 years, 4 years, 7 years old, depending on the tasks. So he was a constant invitation to many things, to creativity, for instance, to think differently, to wonder what is normal. Or I remember that was painful, as you can imagine, but there is a terrible word in Spanish that 4 years ago kids used to use this word to call someone with mental brain damages, which is subnormal. It's like a subnormal. And they say it's a bad word for insulting. And I remember seeing this at school. I remember wondering what is normal then. What is normal and what is subnormal? What is under normality? And what is over normality? Right? That as a kid, you wonder why they are using this word to call a beautiful human being, because he was innocent, or you can imagine he was innocent all his life. He I don't know, I remember he used to sing Christmas songs during the whole year, and that was beautiful, because it was, when you sing a Christmas song, something, I don't know, like I like that, and why not? So if you sing that is normal, or you know what I mean. So that was part of my wonder at that time. And also I think it was like not a long time ago that I used to reflect on my brother, because trying to figure out his mind, I think, was the beginning of why I wanted to know more about the human being, because I had to understand. I was born after him, so he was one of the most important people in my life. So, but I didn't understand many things. So I think that understanding his behaviors, his way of loving, his way of translating the world he used to see around him, was the key factor for me to be this interested and passionate about human beings. To share you an example, he used to repeat things 2 or 3 times when he was speaking with you. And one of the things he used to say was, "What's my name? What's my name? What's my name?" She used to come to my bedroom to say, "What's my name? What's my name? Tell me who I am. Tell me who I am. Tell me who I am." That was not comfortable, as you can imagine. I'm not trying to romanticize the experience, because, as I said, that it was full of joy, miseries, and glories, as we can imagine. The thing is that if I link that experience of his questions to leadership, it was when I started to work on leadership that I realized he had the answer of, I had in front of me what a leader is. And a leader is someone who wants to know your name, not name and surnames. A leader is someone who wants to know who are you? Who are you? Tell me. So I don't have a definition for leader. And I'm not interested neither in finding like the big quote to define a leader, but I do know that I can recognize a leader in front of me when I'm with someone that really wants to know who is the person in front of them. And that means a lot, because it's knowing beyond ideas, skin, form, even opinions. It's knowing way more beyond opinions.
Yeah. No, that's remarkable.
Like you do with your podcast. This is what you do,
Well,
right?
thank you.
Your research.
I'm just interested in people. I don't know if I'd call myself a leader, but I am interested in that, in your journey into that domain. I mean, so you're starting out as a journalist and you want to tell stories, and how do you then go from there into the business world and into the work you do with leadership? How did that journey unfold?
I think if I'm like full disclosure, I understand. I have to answer with the understanding that I got a few years ago, which is I have the feeling that I had two parallel lives. One of them was school, university, studying journalism, then working for running a communication department, working on production, and then working, as a project manager and running projects and having this. I have the feeling that I was successful in every work that I used to do, right? But there was always something missing. And the other life, which runs in parallel, is having a very strong spiritual awakening when I was 14, which was like a secret for me because I was feeling stuff that I couldn't share with anyone because I don't know. I had the feeling that we were more than, what we were seeing around. I had the feeling that there was, I don't know, I have this call for spirituality and mysticism and all that. And I started to read about personal development as well. So that was the beginning of a path where, by that time, my parents are Catholics. So part of my answers, I used to find part of these answers in church, going to church with them on Sunday. And I was lucky also that I went to a school where the religion teacher spent a year speaking about love. So not about the Bible or not about, just about love as a philosophical concept, really cultivating the love of debates, for instance. So, but then I was like, but there is something else. There must be more. So I did experimental theater, and I did train myself as a yoga and meditation teacher. I did. I went to ceremonies, like different kind of ceremonies, dance, clown, many different disciplines that that were somehow fulfilling my spirit. But they were not together, these two worlds. The consciousness that I was having in a ritual, it was something that I couldn't see reflected on the business world, and that was for me, I was worried about that. I was worried about how is possible that we are like two completely different people. One is like the one with, dressed like in a formal way, going to the office, and the other one, in this beautiful circle of people, showing and sharing with our vulnerability the things that drive us as human beings, right? So there was this moment that I had this crisis, and that I have like a breakdown. And that was for me the moment to stop and to reflect and to go to therapy and to ask me very uncomfortable questions, but the right ones. And that was the beginning. And that moment, it was like, okay, Esther, what is what you want to do that is really, that you would die doing that thing. And this is what I And at the beginning, there was a few months of nothing, like no answer. I was like, I don't know. I was in fear, and I was afraid of verbalizing, right? And then I said, okay, this is it. This is what I want to do. And that was the beginning, because then is when Tim Leverett, who you invited to your podcast already.
I interviewed. Yeah, he was my last episode.
Yeah, he invited me to go to his event, and he said, I could like you to run something about feedback and leadership. And that was the beginning. I went there, I went to the event, I did a 3-hour session about, it was an experiential session about my vision on leadership and companies. And that was the beginning. I got my first clients.
Yeah. Well, let's go back to the moment you had this crisis, this breakdown, and then you get some clarity. Could you describe what the clarity was? Like, what did you recognize that you were supposed to be doing? How would you describe that? And yeah.
Now that you mentioned this, it's coming to my mind the picture of the cavern, the Platon, the philosopher. How do you say
Plato's cave? Yeah.
Plato's
cave.
Platon.
Yeah,
we say Platon.
Sure. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
the cave.
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
The cave. Okay. Because like this myth speaks about going from darkness to beauty, actually, which is what he calls light. Says that at the end of this cavern, you find beauty as that you can also call light or God or whatever you feel. And I think that was my experience, going from darkness to knowing. And for me, it was knowing that I want to devote my life to human connection, deep human connection, and that I truly know that we can, with each other, elevate our spirits through human connection. And this is something that we all can do, right? So our presence can be our offering for the person in front of us to shine. So that was what I saw.
Yeah.
That was what it was like my truth, my vision. I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, but it's very honest.
Yeah, no, you are. So you get that certainty about what you're drawn to do. Going back to maybe Plato's metaphor, he does say that when you go from the darkness into the light, it's initially painful. It's difficult to acclimate yourself to the new environment. Did you have a struggle moving from what you used to do to what you do now? What was that journey like in between?
Of course, and I'm happy that you asked this question, because if a podcast can help people to break the stigma about therapy and about personal development and about really sharing vulnerability and sharing our pains and analyzing, psychoanalyzing, etc. Blessings, it was very painful, of course. If you have a breakdown, after the breakdown, you can see, okay, that made sense because I had to see this, or I realized about that. But the path is as painful as Platon or any other wise human being can say. I mean, it is difficult for our egos to find rest in not knowing, right? Our egos, they, but this is like this is another subject, but actually for me it was painful not to know what I really wanted to do in my life as a professional. I had great relationships around me. I had great stuff, but I was not happy with my work. Really, I wasn't.
You're listening to Beauty at Work. This episode of the podcast is sponsored by Templeton Religion Trust as part of a grant on the aesthetic dimensions of science. Templeton Religion Trust supports projects as well as storytelling related to projects that seek to enrich the conversation about religion. To learn more about them, visit templetonreligiontrust.org. This episode is also sponsored by the Institute for Advanced Catholic Studies, a global research center located at the University of Southern California. IACS works to create dialogue, spark ideas, and sustain academic research on Catholic thought, creative imagination, and lived experience. Learn more at iacs.usc.edu. If you're enjoying the show so far, please subscribe to our podcast and take a moment to leave us a review.
That recognition of finding your purpose in bringing about connection and intimacy, whether was that able to pull you out of the the pain that you were in? How did that that recognition that you were called to bring about intimacy and connection, how did that practically change what you were doing? I suppose maybe that's another thing I'm interested in. Like, what did you start to do differently once you started to realize that it was your work had to be about bringing about intimacy and connection?
In my case, I decided to run my own business. I had to make tangible the intangible. I had to design a communication program or a leadership program where life was at the center of the strategy of the program, where human beings were the key piece of the whole thing.
Yeah. What does that look like practically for you?
You need courage. Because,
yeah.
When you propose leadership or like when you propose a team, board members, for instance, when you propose to them and you say, okay, let's go inside, let's look inside, I normally create a safe space. I use the body to go, like to work. I like to work with the body, with the mind, with the spirit. It's not only people sitting around a table and then intellectually speaking about how great the idea that they are proposing is. So I work in these dimensions. So we are not, they don't speak from just their minds, right? And there is a moment where this intimate space is created where, for instance, I ask them to share what they want to leave on earth before they die, and what they really care about in life, and what they have loved in life. And with those questions, there is no way you really, if you answer, what have you loved in life? If you answer this question and you share the answer with the people you work with, you will be able to explore this agreement forever, because you know what each of you love. So you are in a safe space. You are in a space that is so intimate, so true, and so lovely that you can even explore disagreement. And you don't even have to share the same opinions about politics, music, anything. You can work for a purpose by knowing, by connecting, that way. And then after we have that conversation, then we define our OKRs, our KPIs, our the MRR that we desire. Of course, it's not that we leave that apart. That is part of the conversation. But this conversation, it is urgent that we have these conversations from this perspective, from this state of mind, heart, spirit, because otherwise it's just coming from here. And then what? Then what happens when we have to disagree? We cannot explore disagreement because your opinion and my opinion are going to make us go into opposite directions. And then we go to sleep, which is the preface of how we are going to die, or is the way that I say it. Then we go to sleep, and we go to sleep like thinking, and like the thing that I didn't say, the sentence that like we go to sleep with a war inside our mind, and we should go to sleep with peace of mind, not with war.
War is an interesting concept to bring up, because for a lot of people, business is war in the sense that there's this way in which people do business, right? That's constantly about dealing with competition and winning at any cost, and a lot of strategy is leaders take inspiration from books about war and generals, and so it's often used as a metaphor, for success in business. And I'm curious to know whether you face any resistance from that warlike orientation among leaders or in companies. Have you encountered people with that sort of framework, and how do you approach them, or can you only work with people who are open to something different? What has it been like?
I'm open to work with people that are willing to, even if they are coming from the war.
Yeah.
But if they sense that there must be peace on the other side, and that they really are committed to that, then because I know what war is, because I have had the experience, right? There are two key concepts that I like to work with. One is the concept of the infinite game that was created by an economist called James P. Cars, or John P. Cars. I think it's James P. Cars. That Simon Sinek, in his book, The Infinite Game, Simon Sinek, he speaks about this concept. To recap, I hope to do it this way, but we've been trained on finite games, which is winning, like a soccer match, right? Just winning. We haven't been trained, educated in playing a game where the goal is to keep playing, not to win.
Yeah.
Because there is no, like, what is winning in business? It is crazy. It's like winning in life. What is winning in life? What is winning in business? Sometimes, like in business, sometimes you are ahead, sometimes you are behind. So your goal should be to keep playing, right? And speaking about war, to identify your rivals as worthy rivals, right? So if there is a rival, as far as this rival is a worthy rival, then we are fine. Why? Because a worthy rival is a rival that is working for a purpose, for a great cause. So you are on the same page, and there is market for everyone. Because by having this, it's like a mindset, or like a glasses. If you put yourself on the glasses of the infinite game, then you can identify your worthy rivals as people you can learn from, because they are ahead in some things that you are behind. So you can always learn from these people, right? And if they have this great cause, this purpose, if they are working to really, really, really make the world a better place, then good for them. And I think this is beautiful. I have goosebumps, because imagine that we the entire world, we can all do this. We can all create our businesses with this mindset, this idea, right? That could be lovely to learn this at school. That could be, it could be amazing, because then you are not constantly focusing on beating your rival, because that is work outside and it's work inside. Then you go to sleep with them. Then this is what we see outside: anxiety, stress, depression, constant comparison. Constant. I compare myself with people that is apparently doing better, winning more, making it better, etc., etc. That's a nightmare. It is a nightmare.
Yeah.
And we have planted the seed of thinking that that's a good thing. That, oh no, like having rivals is like my gas, and I like to compete, and etc., etc. I understand there is a narrative of that is good. Like, yeah, you go, you compete, you know, of course, as far as you wish the best for your rivals, then it's a nice competition.
Yeah. No, I think you're also, it seems, depicting a picture of the beautiful game, right? The good sportsmanship, and there's ideals here. I want you to talk about culture, because you've talked about leadership, and maybe we could say beautiful leadership has this quality of wanting to know who are you, right? And really, the leader is the one who wants to know your name, who wants to know what you're called to, wants to know what you're capable of, and helping you flourish, whether, potentially whether that's in this company or somewhere else. But I think that commitment to the person seems to be central. But I'm curious to know, what is a beautiful culture in an organization? What does that look like, and how do you create it? How do you make that happen?
It is important to clarify that a beautiful culture is a very imperfect culture. This is important because some people, when the company decides to invest in company culture, they say the reaction, sometimes you have different reactions. Like with any kind of change in organizations, there are different voices that raise in reaction to the proposal. And one of them is, we cannot say that we are building a beautiful culture because we have this problem and this problem and this problem, right? But then if you have the people leading the company committed, and this is key because a beautiful culture cannot be built just with the people with middle management, or just with a label, It's not that I like to speak about labels, but it is no way you can build that without everyone involved. That's not possible. It has to be. So everyone involved is very important. But what I was saying before is that building a beautiful culture is a commitment. It's a beautiful commitment. It's a worth it commitment. And with this, I mean that it's going to be not easy. It's going to be complex. It's like a relationship. You get married with someone, or you commit to have a relationship with someone. It's not going to be perfect. You are going to have to deal with not being beautiful, right? And this is small but big, right? Because sometimes when we see that something not beautiful is happening, or that your CEO, they fire someone that you think is not fair, sometimes the reaction is, well, that's not beautiful. Perhaps it's not, but we don't know. We should analyze profoundly that thing. But building a beautiful company culture is a place to go. It's a place to go. It's a commitment. And then each time that is not beautiful, as you want to build this beautiful culture, each time that is not happening, then you have created already a human space, an intimate space, safe space, etc., where people can gather and speak about it without being in danger for speaking up.
I wanted to ask if you might have an example that comes to mind of a transformation you've been able to bring about in a company where they're able to embrace this ideal of a beautiful culture. Like, what does it take for them to commit to that? And then while they go through the struggles, how can they remain in this space that you've created practically? Does that make sense? Like, it'd be great if you could give us an example of what you've seen.
Yeah, you are pointing out something very key, which is remain. I'm working with a client that called me to create, design, and implement the whole strategy for an area called Beautiful Business Area, actually inside the company. So this big company, they said, okay, we want to create an area which is focused on culture. They have already people area, and they wanted to call this area focused on culture, beautiful business. And that's the thing that first we listen to the people. It wasn't me going to the company and saying, hey, this is how you build a beautiful culture in this company, This is the how-to. Yeah. I refuse a lot to work with the how-tos. Yeah. And I refuse a lot to copy-paste where the big startups are doing. You can get inspired. You can see frameworks, tools, things that they do to see if they are good for the company you are working with. But don't not a copy paste, please, because that culture in that company, it's fulfilled by people, and they have name and surnames, and they are coming from different places. They are diverse and rich, and they need to feel seen and listened, and they need to share what they envision as a great company culture. So you first do that, even if you have brilliant ideas as a consultant. And this is a message from all the consultants that may be listening to this podcast. But please, first, even if you have what you think that is the magic formula of no, you go first and you listen. You ask people, what is what you see? What is what you need? What is what worries you, etc., etc. This is a key thing. And another key thing to highlight, because there are many things, but I could highlight three. One, this that I just said. The second one could be there will be resistance as far as there will be resistance until they have the experience of what you are running in as an experience of beautiful business, of a beautiful culture, meaning that you create the department, you do a great communication campaign, whatever, but people, they need to live with their bodies and minds what is that thing that you are doing, right? So, because otherwise it's just the judgmental side of your mind doing the work. So the experience that I have is that when they go through the experience of, okay, let's work on new cultural behaviors or cultural behaviors for this company, for the business growth, for instance, and you just spend a few hours on one of them, and it's not a TED talk, it's not me as a consultant or a speaker going to the company and saying, this is the 10 how to, this is the greatest methodology but you invite people to live an experience about that behavior, then you see transformation. And I link this to the verb that you said before, remain. You can see, then they see, but then you need to remain on that. And for that, it's like a muscle. You want to build muscle, you don't drop off your routine, then a routine is needed you want to have a healthy life, you have to eat healthy food. So it is okay if one day you don't eat healthy food, but so in business is the same thing. Like, you want to have a healthy company culture, then you do your routine, then you do your stuff, and the things that you are working on, the strategy needs to be more than a one big thing, team building. We need to go beyond team buildings. Please, this is another message from everyone working in organizations. Let's go beyond team buildings, because team buildings are a great thing to remind ourselves why we are together. But then we need to put in practice everything that we see in a team building. Then we need to do more than that.
Yeah, no, that's great. Do you have any advice for leaders then who are trying to highlight the more human element, right? And I think increasingly, just with quiet quitting and the Great Resignation and so on, it's becoming much more important for leaders to value the talent they have. And I wonder if you might be able to offer, just from your experience, any tips, any advice to leaders who are listening. Maybe one thing they could do that could move them in the direction that that you're advocating, towards more beautiful business, towards more beautiful leadership, towards creating more beautiful culture. What is one really crucial thing they could do?
This is a great question, because it's inviting us to reflect deeply about what is needed. And I'm gonna link this answer to a comment that you said before. I think you said something like, I don't know if I'm a leader, but I like to connect with people, right? My desire, my vision is that there are potentially as many leaders in the planet as human beings, right? So the call for leadership is not for first times of management. It's not for boards. It's not for CEOs. The call for leadership is for every single person, right? Because it is, I see it at first as an awakening and then as a commitment. First, you realize that there is something inside of you, like, oh, I really want to do good, do great things for other people and for life. And I really love life. So first is this. And then to do your routine, like we said before, then there are commitments, right? And one of the commitments is that I see two beautiful ones. One is you want your people to shine. You really commit to that. You want your people to shine. So you, instead of being the one to speak, you are the one that listens, that you are the one that is going to make great questions, not to shine by your question, but to help other people to shine by a simple question that you have asked. And the other one is that another commitment that I love is that your mind, that you commit to this, like, that may my mind be a safe space for you. Imagine this in the wall of Google, or, this as a value, this as a value, not, or as a North Star or whatever you want to call it, right? But if you have an organization, if you have people committed to this, to do whatever it takes to have a mind where people can rest, right? Because that means that you cannot do that alone. You are gonna do this with people. There is no other way, right? But the commitment is personal, is intimate, and it's gonna be difficult. It's like what we said before about a relationship, and it means that you will be mistaken also with this, because there will be a moment that, I don't know, perhaps you speak about someone that is not present in that meeting. And instead of going to that person to speak about a problem you have with that person, perhaps you speak about that person with someone that you shouldn't be speaking with about that, So at that moment, your mind is not a safe space for everyone in your team, right?
Yeah, I'm really intrigued by this. Yeah, for what does it mean for my mind to be a safe space for the other, right? And does that mean that I need to be open to whatever challenges they bring to me? Does it mean that I put up with, if they treat me badly? Like what exactly does that mean?
This is important. Thank you for the question, because it doesn't mean that you don't have to put boundaries, or you don't have to,
right.
like all the stuff that is against the law and against respect and dignity of the human being, that is not out of this proposal. So if you have someone that is not treating you well, and it's what you have to do is to speak up and then leave the company or find solutions, right? So this thing that I'm saying is we cannot apply this to those situations. But in a healthy environment, that means that every time that we have an interaction, I'm going to look at you with dignity and with respect. I'm going to witness, I'm committed to witnessing your humanity every time that we have an interaction. This is first. And second, every time that we interact, I'm going to be conscious that the way I see you is the way I make you. So if we have an interaction and you have opinion A about this political moment, and I have an opinion B, and I'm going to put a label on you and say, wow, you are the worst. And no, because if I see you as the worst, I'm going to make you as the worst. If by a mistake that you have done with this deadline, or this email that you had to send to a client and you didn't send it on time, I see you as a whatever, then I'm going to make you that label, So I'm going to reduce you to that thing. And you and I know, and we all know, that we are bigger than our mistakes, that we are bigger than our opinions, bigger, or I don't know if bigger is the word, but more profound, more rich, more, And we have excuses and opportunities every single day to do the opposite, to see you as, oh no, and then, because especially I've been a perfectionist my whole life. So I'm very, very well trained to see what is that thing that Brandon could improve, this 1% small thing that you could improve, blah, 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 blah. That's exhausting. But if instead I see I look at you with all the things that you do great, that our interaction relationship is going to be different.
That's great. That's fantastic. Yeah, that's great. That's very good advice. Very sage advice. Thank you, Esther. This has been super, super fascinating. Any final thoughts? Anything else that came to mind during our conversation that you want to share about beautiful work, beautiful leadership, beautiful culture? Anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, just one thing now that because of what you just said, which is, don't follow my advice, please. Leave it. Go through the experience. Don't believe me. Please do not believe me. Please, if you are listening to this podcast, this is an invitation for you to go through the experience of what I am proposing. Please experience it.
Fantastic. Where could we direct our viewers and listeners to your work? Where could they learn more about your work, and where could they perhaps learn how to experience what you've proposed?
They can go to my website, and they can go to my LinkedIn profile or Instagram profile, because because I like to post reflections there. And sometimes I post videos as well, or podcasts like this one with you, which are a great opportunity to have a beautiful conversation. Well, that was more this was more like an interview, but to reflect, really, like we really need to reconquer the space of reflection, which is beautiful. And we have an amazing opportunity when we reflect to then act aligned with what we love and what we really desire.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you, Esther. It's been such a pleasure. Thank you again for being on the podcast.
Thank you for inviting me, Brandon. Thank you so much, and congratulations for everything that you are doing. I'm the day I met you, I was like, oh my God, this is possible. I was so happy that there was a human being in the planet working on beauty. I said, wow, this is a miracle. Right. So, really, I love it. Thank you.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening to this episode of Beauty at Work. Please be sure to check out our show notes for more resources from our guest. And if you like this episode, please be sure to share it with your friends. And please leave us an honest review. We'd love to hear what you think, and it helps to get the word out about our show. Music edited by Venkat Subramaniam, and the podcast was edited by Dave Visaya from Podcast Engineers. And thanks again to our two sponsors, Templeton Religion Trust and the Institute for Advanced Catholic Studies at the University of Southern California. For a research project on beauty and science, visit wellbeinginscience.com. To learn more about our broader project on beauty at work, visit beautyatwork.net. Thanks again, and see you next time.